She had claimed that bench as her own long ago, though it never really belonged to anyone. When she arrived each morning, she would settle into its familiar curve, smoothing her skirt, placing the worn photograph gently on her lap. The air always smelled faintly of dew and jasmine, even when summer's heat burned the pavement. People passing by thought she was waiting for someone, perhaps a lover who had gone on an endless trip, a child who never returned, or a ghost from years past. She said nothing, and no one asked. Over 2 decades, strangers came and went. Seasons spun their stories, and still she waited. In the beginning, the photograph held hope. It showed a young man in military uniform, arm slung casually over her shoulder, both of them smiling at the camera's click. His eyes were bright, his grin unguarded. They had promised to build a life together, 2 broken souls knitting safety nets around one another. His orders to overseas deployment arrived on a humidity-stained letterhead, and she watched him leave with his duffel bag tugged over shoulders too lean for the uniform. They would marry when he returned. She had held on to that promise like a lifeline. Days turned to weeks, weeks to months, months to years. Letters came at first, inked pages bursting with longing, plans sketched in margins, dreams of quiet suburban evenings. Then the letters slowed, folded into terse telegrams, words clipped. She wrote back with all her heart each time, pocketing her fears so deep that they hardly stirred. She told her family she was fine. She told her friends she was fine. Eventually, she told herself she was fine. She believed, though, that he would come back. The bench would be her beacon guiding him home. 20 years passed. Her hair silvered into haphazard waves, eyelashes too thin to be noticed, hands mottled with age. Spots. The photograph's corners curled, the ink faded to a gentle sepia. People no longer asked if she was waiting for someone. They recognized the pattern: morning, bench, photograph. They assumed she was harmless. They left her be. Sometimes she rehearsed what she would say if he appeared. She would ask where he had been, why he never wrote, how the world had treated him. She would demand every truth she deserved. Other times she imagined him on the bench beside her, older but still handsome, eyes crinkled with stories. She would weep into his chest, silence filling the years between. She never considered giving up. The bench was comfort. It held her vigil. It was easier than returning to a house so empty that even shadows recoiled. Every sunrise, even on the mornings when she almost missed her stride, she found the bench waiting, dust motes dancing in soft light, and she took her seat. On the morning, the stranger came. The sky was an endless silver wash, the air heavy with the promise of rain. She adjusted the photograph as usual and bent her head, letting her gaze drift over the park. No one crossed her field of vision. No one sat nearby. Her heart never thought to pound. This was routine, ordinary. Then he appeared at the edge of her vision. She noticed him only because she sensed movement, the faint crackle of a leather jacket brushing against air. He paused a few yards away, tall and lean, skin the color of rich ebony that glowed even in muted light. His expression was unreadable, curious. He took an unhurried step forward, then another, until he stood next to the bench. Time rippled. Her heartbeat jumped. She glanced at him, then down at the photograph. For a moment, no thought entered her mind. She simply felt the weight of his presence. "Mind if I sit?" he asked. His voice was calm, resonant, carrying a trace of sorrow she couldn't name. She swallowed, eyes flicking toward the empty curve beside her. "No," she whispered. "I mean, go ahead." He settled in, folding himself carefully, as if unsure how much space the bench permitted. He wore worn jeans, scuffed boots, and a simple shirt that looked as if it had weathered its own stories. He regarded her, then the photograph in her hands. "Is that you two?" he asked softly. She traced the image with a trembling fingertip. "That was me and him 20 years ago." Her voice hitched. He never came back. The stranger shifted, uncrossing his arms. "I know," he said quietly. She stared at him, confusion and suspicion blooming. You know? He nodded once, chin bowed. I know a lot that you don't. She drew in a shuddering breath. Who are you? My name doesn't matter, he replied. What matters is the truth you've been waiting for. She looked at him, searching for a trick, a confession of cruelty. Instead, she saw compassion, in his eyes a gentle ache that mirrored her own. All these years, she murmured. All these mornings, and I still don't know. I'm here to change that, he said. She closed her eyes, pain blooming behind lids. She remembered the letter, the telegram, the silence. Are you him? She asked, voice wavering. He shook his head slowly. No, I'm not him, but I have something of his. Braided within his words was a quiet authority. She waited, breath shallow. He produced a small envelope from his pocket, placing it carefully on the bench between them. It looked new, crisp, an impossibility amongst her tattered keepsakes. She stared at it. What is it? She asked. His last letter, he answered. The one he wrote before. She's name rose on her tongue, words soaked in grief. Before, She couldn't finish. He pressed the envelope forward. Before he knew he wouldn't survive. He wrote an apology, a confession. Her hand shook as she reached for it, brushing the edge. Why give this to me now? Why after 20 years? He looked away, eyes fixed on a distant memory. I promised him. When I found it, I promised to deliver it. She paused, heart breaking into fragments. Who are you to him? He looked at her then, and she felt a recognition deeper than age or color. I'm the man he saved. She blinked, not understanding. Saved? The stranger's voice dropped. You see, he was in the line of fire. The explosion tossed him apart. I pulled him from the wreckage, not knowing who he was. He never told me his name, he just said he was someone's love, someone's hope. Her fingers trembled around the envelope. He didn't... Her voice caught. He never told me? He didn't want you to worry. He thought he'd come home. Tears pooled in her eyes. She pressed her lips together, nodding. What does the letter say? He waited, giving her space. She carefully slit the envelope and withdrew the folded pages. The handwriting was familiar, strong, looping, familiar from the faded lines on old stationery. She unfolded the pages, voice unsteady as she read aloud. I'm so sorry for the silence, my love. I wanted to write, to tell you everything. But the days slipped away and my words caught in my throat. I never stopped thinking of you. Every sunset reminded me of your smile. Every morning I felt the ache of your absence. I tried to reach you, but fate had other plans. I believe I can make it back. I believe in the life we planned. If anything happens, please know this. You are the greatest love of my life, the one who gave me strength. I wish I could see your face one more time. I love you always. The stranger watched her read, expression sorrowful. She folded the letter, pressed it to her heart. The photograph trembled in her lap. Is that all? She whispered. He shook his head. There was more, hidden at the end. She looked up, startled. He reached into his jacket again and produced a smaller note, its paper yellowed with age. He handed it to her. She unfolded it with reverence. The second letter began with the familiar looping script, but the lines beneath were more urgent. When you read this, understand that my silence was not betrayal. I discovered something in those days abroad, something dangerous. I found evidence of corruption, betrayal at high levels. I tried to expose it, to protect our country, but the cost became too high. My commanders ordered me to stop. I refused. They silenced me. I did what I could to survive, but they lied about my fate. I want you to know the real story. I died because I would not stay silent. I died defending truth, defending you. I'm sorry I could not come back. Please live for both of us. Let my sacrifice mean something. Her hands blurred with tears. She looked at the stranger. He died because he refused orders. He nodded, voice low. He died protecting a truth that needed to come out. He died believing in a promise to you. She pressed the second letter to her lips. Her knees trembled. The world around her seemed to hold its breath. Then she looked at him, and recognition bloomed in her chest. You said you promised him you'd deliver this. She swallowed. Why did it take so long? He sighed, eyes distant. I thought I was next. I tried to hide the letters, keep them safe until I could find you. But they hunted me too. I've been running ever since, afraid that if I stopped they would catch me. Only recently did I learn you never left this bench. You waited. And so I came. Her breath caught. She reached out and took his hand, cold against her warm palm. Thank you, she whispered. He leaned closer. There's something else. He hesitated, then produced one final paper, a folded photograph showing a document, a medal pinned to a uniform, recognition for bravery. It bore his name, rank, and date, May 12, 2005. Beneath was inscribed a dedication. To the one I loved, whose faith kept me alive. She stared at the medal's name. It was him. It was the same man from her photograph. She looked at the stranger. You kept this all these years? He nodded. It belonged with you. She ran her thumb over the medal's dedication. I never knew. Her voice cracked. I never knew any of this. He answered gently. Now you do. She closed her eyes, allowing the weight of truth to settle. 20 years of mornings, 20 years of hope and despair woven into the grain of that bench. She breathed deeply, tears falling freely. The stranger rose slowly and offered her the medal and letters. She accepted them as if opening her heart for the first time in decades. He turned toward the park's winding path. She met his gaze. Will I ever see you again? She asked. He hesitated, then smiled softly. If you ever need me, you'll find me at the truth's edge. She nodded and watched him walk away, the weight of years lifting from her shoulders. The rain began to fall in gentle droplets, washing the bench and the trail in silver. She sat there a long moment, letting memory and reality merge. She stood at last, the letters and medal held close. She placed them in the pocket of her coat, then stepped away from the bench. For the first time, she walked without turning back. The rain fell, but it felt like a blessing, cleansing new beginnings. She looked up at the sky, and a single ray of sunlight pierced through the clouds. She smiled. She was free.